Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome. Please come on in and join the gang. Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory is here, 2021. So glad to have you all here with us. I appreciate each and every person that's joining us here. I'm saying tonight because it's nighttime here in Ireland, but you may be somewhere else in some other part of the world. But you're so very welcome. And this is, you could say, our official launch of Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory 2021. So my name is Adrienne Brown. I'm the festival founder and the artistic director of Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory. So just come along in and settle in, and please feel free to put your location into the chat or a hello or anything of that sort. And all of the chat will be passed on through the system, through the technical system that we have here, and keeping a good eye on the chat. And as the evening progresses, you can comment, you can ask questions. But for now, I don't want to give too much information or too much instruction, as it were. I just would like to say Céad Míle Fáilte, which is our Irish greeting, to say 100,000 welcomes. And I am here in Bray, County Wicklow, just outside Dublin, just south of Dublin, a town by the sea. It's a medium-sized town. It's not small and it's not big. And that is where we're operating from, in County Wicklow. And County Wicklow is the Garden of Ireland. So we are so happy to be reaching out globally to you, or locally if you're local, or anywhere you may be. We're so happy to be reaching out to you from the Garden of Ireland, Wicklow, which is a fabulous county. I'm originally from Dublin myself, but I came to live here in Wicklow, Bray in Wicklow, 18 years ago. And so here we are. It's a virtual festival this year. Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory started in 2016 in a sort of an accidental way, perhaps. But it started in 2016 when I made a short film, my first ever dance film or screen dance film, although I didn't really know that that was the term at the time. My background is that I'm a choreographer of many, many years, and I have basically a dance artist. You can find my bio if you want to go look for it on screendance.ie. But essentially, I have been involved in choreography for the vast portion of my dance career. And in 2016, I made a short film called I See His Blood, based on the commemoration of the 1916 Rising. And it was concerned with the marriage of Joseph Mary Plunkett and Grace Gifford. However, from that small but very, how would I put it, very heartfelt project, I then travelled with this and went to a few different festivals, one of them being a festival in Bourgogne in France, where I met the wonderful Marisa and Franck, who I will introduce you to in a moment or two. And then from that, I became aware of the whole world of screen dance, or there are many other names for it as well. We won't go into all of that now. There was a week ahead of us, plenty of time to talk about these things. But from meeting Marisa and Franck in Bourgogne in France, I came back to Wicklow and I said, I really would like to start something in Wicklow concerned with screen dance. And I did, and luckily enough, I was able to get it going by the following year, which was 2017. And it ran then every year since then until last year. Our festival was cancelled because of COVID. And I decided to go ahead. We're going to go ahead this year. And I have to say, hats off to the Government of Ireland. They have been really wonderful. The Arts Council has been fantastic through this last year. And they were able to really aid and help any of those who are working in the arts. So I just want to give a big thank you to the Arts Council of Ireland. And I also want to give a thanks to Lergas, who is another funding body which has funded us for this festival this year. So thank you to Lergas funding, and thank you to the Arts Council of Ireland. So yes, so here we are. It's a virtual festival, and I was really wanting for it to go ahead, and so we are going ahead. And one of my things around this whole festival is to keep it interactive, to have some sense of sharing and communication between artists and public, between artists and each other, between art forms, between practitioners, and also to show work so that work can be shown and seen and celebrated and questioned and essentially It's a little bit different to the style of performance that you might see if you went to see a theatre performance, where usually it's very much the finished object and the production values might be quite high. But at the moment with Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory, we haven't reached that stage, but you never know, things are moving, and that may very well happen. So yes, I would like to also mention this year I have a wonderful team working with me in Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory, and this is my team, my team of angel, as I was going to call them, or something of that nature. They've been really wonderful, and I would just like to mention them. So on technical, the technical team is Rory O'Sullivan and Curtis Rodney. The social media person is Sarah Eva Manson, and the program manager is Hannah Slattery. We also have had wonderful background help, especially in communications, from Karina Buckley. And last but not least, Christian Daly has been the website designer and the graphics designer, and in many ways has been my right-hand man. In fact, he lives in my same building, so we would pop over and back across the hall to each other, masked up. I need not tell you. I need not emphasize for certain we're masked up. But anyway, that's the team at the moment, and I'm so grateful to them all. So some nice comments coming in. Lovely. So thank you. Lovely hello from Jess Rowell and from Roisin Whelan and Molly McAllister in Scotland. Thank you so much, everybody. Lovely to hear from you. Some of these are the artists you will be seeing tonight and across the week as we go ahead. The programme, which is available on screendance.ie, gives blocks of time for each event, and these are quite approximate because of the nature of live streaming and the nature of the kind of conversation that may ensue. There are guidelines. So, for example, tonight's event is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Irish time, but it may very well end a little earlier, this session tonight. The other nights, Thursday, Friday, and all day Saturday, I think they will be possibly the full length of time that's allocated. But anyway, I'm just letting you know that time is a little bit subject to variability. If we do have long sessions, we will possibly take a 5-minute or 2 or 3 minute pause in between so that people can stretch their legs and move about, do whatever they need to do. All right then. So now I'd like to introduce the 2 panel members for this evening. And they are, and I would like to give a full introduction to them. So Marisa Hayes and Frank Bouleg are married, and that is why you will see them in their joint screen. And they are there together in the screen. And both of them are to the forefront in theory and practice within the growing field of European dance and film. They hold influential positions as directors of Festival International de Video Danse de Bourgogne, France. Franck has a master's in film studies from La Sorbonne, the Université de Paris. He is a filmmaker, editor, and producer of more than 12 films that have toured Europe, Asia, North and South America. Marisa has a Master of Arts and Letters, Visual Studies, specializing in screen dance, and is editor-in-chief of Repère Carrière de Danse, a dance research journal published by La Briqueterie, which is a choreographic development center in Paris. Franck and she are PhD candidates and have a 3-year cooperation agreement with La Briqueterie to promote screen dance via screenings, roundtables, and production residencies. Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory is so proud and happy to welcome them back again this year, and we hope that these visits will continue into the future. And I would imagine that there is some more to be said, as that biography came from possibly a year ago, so they may like to add to that themselves. In fact, I'm going to invite them to come on and say a quick hello, if you'd like, Marisa and Franck, if there's anything you'd like to add.
Hello, Adrienne, and hello, everyone. Thank you for this introduction, which I think covers approximately everything that concerns us. We are very glad to be here tonight to participate in this edition of the Wicklow Festival. And yes, the two of us have been working in the field of screen dance for over 10 years now. We created our festival 12 years ago, and we've developed a network of partners over Europe and over the world over the years. And it's with great pleasure that we collaborate with the Wicklow Festival and that we've been collaborating with you for the past couple of years.
Hi, everyone. I echo Frank's sentiments. Just wanted to say hello and a huge word of thanks to Adrienne for the organization of this festival and the chance to share with you. A huge thank you to all the artists who will be sharing their work throughout the week. And thank you to you, the public, as well as the entire team of the festival.
Thank you, Marisa and Frank. So I would just like to maybe set a little bit of a context for this year. As we all know, the pandemic is present for all of us, and this year, because last year's festival was cancelled, we carried over some of the programme from last year. So some of the programme that you will see this week comes from last year's festival, but there are some and many additions to it as well. But this year, we sent a call out for choreographers who have moved to screen because they can't get into the dance studio. They can't create work in the normal way in either a dance studio or in any kind of, they can't perform in a theatre of any in that way. So this year we called out for people who would like to submit works of dance that are related to that theme. And that particular theme is going to be concentrated on Thursday. The choreographers moved to screen night. But for tonight, we're really going to be looking at a different selection of films. And some of these, but not all, but some of these are films from early screen dance artists or early filmmakers, people who are starting out in this area. And you might call them emerging dance and film artists. Many of them are dancers themselves. Some are not, some are film artists entirely. And I would like to set the tone by saying that, not set the tone, but introduce the first film by saying that I was so thrilled when late in the process, I had an email from Conor Donelan, who is a filmmaker, and he had made a film and submitted 2 films, one of which you're going to see tonight, and the next one you will see on Thursday. And the reason I was so thrilled about this is that Conor Donelan was with us in the first ever screen dance, Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory in 2017. So he is, in a way, an alumni, a past alumni of Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory. And then he went on to study film in Bray Institute of Further Education, which is just down the road from here. And then following that, he's also worked a lot with dance. He's an actor as well. He's a dancer, he's a performer. But he subsequently went on to work with the dance artist, Jess Rowell. And together, Jess and Conor have made 2 films, as I mentioned. And the first film we're going to start out tonight, I think it sets the tone very beautifully for Wicklow Screen Dance this year, as in it really shows the kind of their initial process. And so this piece is called Chance to Dance.
Hi guys, I'm Jess and I'm super excited that you are taking part in Chance to Dance with us here at Driect this summer. So each Friday from today you're going to receive...
So this is how Chance to Dance was born. So we came up with the plan to create 4 dance tutorials. We decided to create a series of dance sequences which could be filmed and then learnt at home by the participants. Each dancer who'd signed up for the Chance to Dance experience or project received an email with instructions and with a video. So it had a tutorial part to the video where they'd learn the sequences with subtitles, and then they had a full speed version with music. So they had enough time and they could do it in their own time. And what I also requested was that they sent their practice videos back into Driect so I could see how they were getting on. And it was a really nice, the relationship was building. I was able to see their progression and they were able to practice and feel like the practice was being seen. Not only did it give them something to focus on, it allowed them to be physically active in their homes during a period of time where we were limited. In September, we were due to meet in Driecht and have a live filming session. It was going to be a quick process, but because they'd learned the material at home, they were going to come in and we were going to create this socially distanced piece. Each of them fit within a 2-metre squared box on Driecht main stage. So we were going to lay out all the tape and make some really interesting work at that point. So that was really exciting. So then once we realised that the live element of Chance to Dance, as in having participants actually in the Arts Centre, wasn't able to go ahead, we then had to rethink again. Due to the current restrictions, we've now moved those sessions online. We'll still have the setup as we would have had it if they were here, but I'll be communicating with them through Zoom. They're going to be projected up onto the main cyc, so they'll be able to see themselves on the cyc as well as see the stage, as well as see me. So we're still going to go ahead with our live workshops, but now it's moved online. And you know, I think we'll be able to capture the beauty this way too. I don't think that there'll be anything lost. Hi guys, hi Helena.
Hi.
Hi, and hi Jenny. How you
Hello.
going? How you doing?
Chance to Dance just brought her joy, and you know, anything that brings her a bit of joy brings us a bit of joy, and that's the truth of it, you know. This has been a really, really hard year, and that was her only connection, if you like, you know. The way she was dancing with her that day, she was talking to Helena as if she was in the room with her. It was just brilliant, you know. It was just something very special. Jess wasn't just talking generically to a big bunch of people. It wasn't just a generic video that was going out. It was individual with her. So Helena, to her, she was with Jess, and she absolutely loved it. And it's her confidence. Since she has started doing this, her confidence has just skyrocketed.
Well done. Yeah. Did you catch my ball?
Yeah.
I caught your ball too. Really great. Okay, so that was pretty impressive. I've seen some of your videos coming back in as well, and they are amazing. So first off, I just want to say very well done to you. Then draw your big rainbow in the sky. The most positive aspect of the project for me was the final stage where we actually pulled everything together. I really saw their personalities and we had fun. Hi guys.
Hi Jess.
Hi Jason. Hi Vincent. How are you both? Are you
good.
well?
Yeah.
Nice to see you. You're looking all lovely and smart there, both of you.
Yeah.
Nice hair there, Vincent, as well. Fantastic.
Only for that dancing during COVID, we would have been lost, because all his activities stopped, so it was the only thing we could keep doing at home. Obviously, it's not cool to have your mother dancing with you when you're 16. I think what he liked was that he could do that himself. He was discovering another way to dance. He was expressing himself more, I think.
I was very impressed the way he engaged with Jess live. He literally pulled it out of the bag on the day. I really felt he did connect with her.
He couldn't believe that he was able to do the same as Jess, that like here was an adult doing a dance and he was able to keep up and do the same as her. So I think that kind of thing meant a lot to him as well. He said it made him feel happy inside. So I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah, we really had fun moving through the work together, moving through the sequences together, and for me that was the real highlight. It was like we'd come sort of full circle. We started and ended with this feeling of connectivity, you know, with this feeling of there's a sense of union, and we brought it all together.
week seeing all of your videos coming back in was a real treat for us. So thank you and well done. So I'm going to start by giving you a big clap.
It certainly gave her confidence. It was lovely for her, I suppose, to really showcase that whole area of dance and music for her, because that's her area that she really has come into in the last 3 or 4 years of, you know, going through early adolescence.
Make it all really big, and again you make it really small, and you turn to face the back.
To follow it and do it from task 1, sequence 1 to sequence 4. That sense of achievement, you know, plays hugely into her confidence of being able to achieve things no different than her friends or her brother or other members of her family. Yeah.
Yeah. That was beautiful. Well done. Okay, so let's do that one more time.
Thank you very much. That was our first film by Jess, Rowell and Conor Donelan. I just want to say that we will be speaking in depth with Conor and Jess on Thursday. They are invited guest artists onto the choreographer's Move to Screen night. But just to say that this really, one of the things that drew me very much to this work, quite apart from the cinematography and the use of the stage and everything of that sort, was that it really was at the beginning of lockdown that this film was made, where Jess was starting her residency, a dance artist in residency in Drape Theatre. So we will be speaking more to her about that in a few days' time. But just that for me, that really illustrates something about mapping the terrain of where we are and where we've been through all of this last year. I want to give a big shout out to, I need my glasses. We have Anna Sherrod, we have Minty calling in from Roscommon. Hi, Minty. Siún O'Kane, very welcome, lovely to see you. Alison O'Shea, Jessie Sheehan from Cork, my lovely Jessie. Sorcha Dawson, my compadre from Inchicore College. Jasmine Draper, whose film we're going to see next. FYI Dance, Molly McAllister, great dance artist, a film dance artist. We'll see her work today and later in the week also, and she's in Scotland. And we have the beautiful and lovely Roisin Whelan and Jess Rowell, of course. And Sorcha is telling us that this is the magic of technology to allow the project to go ahead. Yes, absolutely so. You're quite right there, Jess. It's such an honor to work with these wonderful dancers. And that is something we'll be talking about again on Thursday, but not to say we can't talk about it either now. Yes, thank you. And thanks for that, Roisin. Just a word on the, the fact that we're doing this festival and the way that it's happening in this way. Of course, isn't it amazing that we have this technology? And it is also quite strange. So it's wonderful and strange. And for me, the strange part is that normally on a day like today and yesterday, we would have probably been in a theatre or some sort of a holding venue, a meeting venue. And I would have been bumping into members of my team in the corridors. We would be having chats and laughs and cups of tea, etc. But instead of that, we're in our homes, and as you all are, and it's quite likely that children may run past my window and they might wave at me and want my attention, and perhaps a cat might move around behind me. So that's the way it is this year, and that in itself, I feel, has brought about a really something very essential to the work we're doing now. It's really caused me to think about what is essential in the art that we're doing. Yeah, what is it that really is the one thing, the small flame that cannot be extinguished, no matter what the circumstances are. So yeah, let's talk about that as the evening goes on and as the week goes on. I want to just remind our virtual audience, please feel free to make comment or ask questions, as I'm going to bring Maurice and Frank in a few moments after the next film, and feel free to really interact and make this as much of a conversation as possible. So the next film I want to talk about and to introduce is a piece called 7 Days by Jasmine Draper. And Jasmine Draper is a young dance and film dance student who's training at Inchicore College of Further Education. She's a third-year student. And last year, we had a project which is called 7 Days, as the title says, and it really was to have a kind of a log over a period of 7 days of being in different locations, and it was really very much a response to the environment that the dancer is in, and it wasn't about creating choreography as in making up a dance or anything. However, so Jasmine created this piece, and I think it's really showing signs of somebody with a lot of talent. And so let's have a look at Jasmine's film now, 7 Days. And so now I'd like to invite Maurice and Frank to join in the conversation. And Maurice and Frank, if you could just set a little bit of a context for us, please. What exactly is screen dance?
Sure. Well, screen dance is an interesting art form in the sense that it's still being developed. It's always evolving in relationship to current practices in different art forms and advancements in technology. But for us, and I think for most festivals around the world, we would all agree that screen dance consists of choreography that's been designed specifically for the screen in collaboration with audiovisual tools. Now, where it gets interesting is what we define as choreography or dance when the camera and the editing forms such an important part of the process, not just the movement that we see happening on screen, but the movement of the image that comes from the camera work and the editing.
Yes, absolutely. Frank, did you want to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add that I think that the relationship between the camera, between cinema and dance is something that is really close. And this is true right from the start, because if you look at the etymology of what cinematography means, it means writing movement. So the art of cinema makes perfect sense in relationship with the art of dance, which is the art of movement, of the poetry of movement.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So we're dealing with two art forms that are very much concerned with movement, but also that are very interested in the representation of time and space, which are huge considerations at the heart of both filmmaking and choreography.
Yes. And so I know, Marisa, you've used the phrase expanded choreography. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So we're hearing a lot about expanded choreographic practices today in relationship to new technology, site-specific practices, but specifically to screen dance, we can speak about expanded choreography in the growing number of artists with dance and choreographic training who are applying those strategies from their dance education to work behind the camera, so that the camera becomes a dancer, but not necessarily without seeing a body on screen, but we feel it through the image, or very choreographic editing, where once again, we're seeing a growing number of dance artists or artists with dance training who take to editing platforms themselves, and they really imbibe the editing with the sense of rhythm and choreographic dynamics that come from dance composition.
Yes, quite so, yes. Frank, I know you've spoken quite a lot about the ghosting or the ghosted image or ghostly presences. Did you want to expand on that, or do you have anything you wanted to add to what Marisa has said?
The theory I'm developing about specters, ghosts, and screen dance is linked to the fact that, contrary to live dance, screen dance is about recording the image of people. So it's not the actual bodies of the people that we see in front of us, it's their image. So it's something of a specter, of a ghost of their bodies. And this is what I'm researching about in relationship to screen dance.
Yes, and with the current year that we're in, with this, if we were to think of it from a point of view of dance, because we know that the dancer is a very physical being, and the currency of their art form is the physical body. So, as you say, if they then are moving into a non-physical space, a virtual space, that there is there then some sort of loss of physicality, do you think, or is that part of the aesthetic?
I would argue that there are various types of physicality, that we have several bodies, one of which is a ghostly body that is about our image, much more so than our flesh. And this body functions very well in the realm of screen dance, and especially in these times of pandemic, when we are isolated in various parts of the world. I mean, it is this body, this ghostly body, that is very easily transmitted to everyone around the world via the internet or via television. So the screen dance is a perfect form of art for these times of pandemics, because it is so flexible and it is very easy to bring dance directly into the living room of people via these new technologies.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I just would like to say, please feel free to add or comment into the chat, and we can feed these comments and questions or observations to Marisa and Frank. We'll talk just for, if there's anything more, did you want to add, just in relation to, I guess I'm thinking, maybe if you could do a very brief look at how screen dance came about. I know it's a big subject, but if you could give a little brief synopsis, it would be lovely.
That's okay. We'll give it a go. We do love our screen dance history and looking at the constant links that have, continued to evolve and have always existed between dance and film. And it might be interesting to consider that some of the very first films that ever were made at the end of the 19th century were films of dance. One of the reasons is that at the time, film was really documenting scenes from everyday life, and popular entertainment at the time was very much about going to the theater and seeing dance. So some of these early images captured dance performances, and I think it's natural that the camera was drawn to this form of movement because, again, what was it doing? Documenting movement as opposed to static images that preceded the development of cinema. So we have some very early films that look at dances that were very popular in the theater by Loie Fuller, for example, her Serpentine dances. Those are films that were captured on screen in the United States, in France, and they represent some of the very first films that were hand-colored. So we already begin to see a relationship and interaction between the filmic image and dance. It's not just simply documentation anymore. There's an interaction when the film strip begins to be colored, and when color shifts, that changes our perception of the moving body, of representation and feelings of weight and all of the principles of dance, but here in collaboration with filmic techniques. And throughout the years, we see dance really interacting with cinema in different genres. Most people have probably seen a musical before, a musical film. And musical films are, of course, quite famous for their dance sequences, where a lot of the artists were thinking about how they might create choreography differently in front of the camera than they might for the live stage. So they took advantage of the different camera angles and how you might develop movement in collaboration with special effects, with different camera techniques. But we also have a long history in screen dance of the avant-garde cinema that kind of preceded what we now call screen dance, but were essentially films that were really looking at representations of movement that weren't narrative films, but were really interested in how the body and how choreographic concepts were represented on screen. And we find that throughout the 20th century, coming to a very important moment, in 1945, with Maya Deren's film, A Study in Choreography for Camera. Maya Deren is sort of a mother figure, a very important person in the history of screen dance, what she called at the time dance film, all in one word, with dance and film attached in one single word, because for her, the two were inseparable. And she's the first person who theorized ideas about screen dance that we're still using today. She talked about a dance or a piece of choreography that cannot exist outside the film strip because it's so closely linked to both the camera work and the editing techniques that are both important factors in the development of the choreography.
Yes, that's so true. And I think that point you just made about the fact that the screen dance work could not exist on a stage, for example, whereas we know, of course, that sometimes even sections of a film, the dance movements or the dance pieces could exist on a stage, but they would be very different choreography because they don't have the editing and the filmic qualities to them. Yes.
Quite right. And it's interesting in history to see that happened very early on in the very late 19th century, early 20th century. Some of the first filmmakers were already beginning to experiment with special effects and different editing techniques that arrived mostly at the beginning of the 20th century, where once again, you start to see dance that couldn't really happen on stage. And once again, it's not a competition, of course, between live dance and screen dance, but just that there are different sets of tools and different ways of looking and exploring dance that are really fascinating. And I think the use of editing techniques and special effects is one of those that
Absolutely.
makes screen dance special.
Yes, directing the viewer's gaze in a very particular way, controlling their gaze to a certain extent, and choosing what they're going to see and how. Yes. I would just like to add into that the fact that we would also know of the other side of working with camera for dance, which would be essentially videoing a dance work as a method of holding it, capturing it, and keeping it so that it can be taught to somebody else in the future. So this is a whole other area of how dance is filmed. But I think in no sense is that, or can that ever be confused with screen dance. In the past, in generations way before film and ever came about, dances were passed on from one generation of dances to the next, and it was just the memory in the body was passed on to the next group that you were teaching it to. And then when film became available, dancers were filmed, and that was the record. But it is often said that, I don't know if it's a truism, but it's often said that something is lost when dance is videoed. And I think this is very true. I'm not talking about screen dance, but when dance is captured on video, a certain dynamic, a certain speed even is lost. There is definitely a dampening of the dynamic. So if anybody wants to comment, of course, you don't have to, but you're more than welcome. There's more I want to talk to Maurice and Frank about, but I think we might move on and have a look at another few films now. But first of all, there's a comment coming in. Just let me see. No comments at the moment is the comment. That's all fine. That's all fine. To me, actually, just to say, tonight we're kind of setting the context. We're setting the scene in a way, and there will be more to talk about as the week goes on. But yes, I wanted to say a hello to Zoe Patterson, who's one of our film artists now, who's coming up. Her film is coming up in a moment. But I hadn't remembered her by name. I was saying earlier to some of the people here on the call that I have a bad memory for names, but of course I don't forget faces or people. But she tells me that she studied with me, or she was a student of mine 23 years ago. That's amazing, Zoe. And just sort of saying hi to me again. So thank you so much, Zoe. And it gives me enormous pleasure when I hear that people I've known way back in the past, that they are still in dance and they're still creating and still developing as artists. So it's very exciting. And I'm really looking forward to this piece. Now we're going to see 3 pieces. We're going to see 3 films. And they are Zoe Patterson's film, Street Dance, followed by Alison O'Shea, who's here tonight as well, Fluctuation. And following that will be a piece by Emma Minarelli. And it's actually also called 7 Days, just coincidentally. But yes, so we'll see these 3 films, and then we'll continue to converse then with Maurice and Frank.
Okay, well, first of all, also well done everybody for getting here. I have a piece of choreography that I want to teach you guys. The song is actually called The End of the World. That's what it feels like when my dance classes are taken away from me. It feels like the end of the world. Are you ready to go? Okay.
And then just spread out a little bit.
Yeah, 1 meter. Okay, music's on. Ready, let's back. Everybody good through? So these are all places I'm trying to think that are not near people's houses to annoy people, but public enough that we can be in them. We're going to take the cameras as our front, half twist turn back to the front, take a step forward. So keep that in mind, and then tap, tap, right, left. All right, step, step. 3 quick runs backwards on yourself. Windmill. They're just flying around the place. Hands up who wants to move now. Everybody happy with the move now? Okay, right, we're going to move. Okay, next bit is from here, then the matrix move, you're going to push your hips back and forward as you go back. So that's the rhythm, because it kind of goes on the and one each time. Heel comes in, and your hip, like the funky 4 corners you did last week, having a knock-on effect of that hip roll. How are our Zoomers doing? Really lean back, and then, yes, exactly. That's the quota of choreography, because after this, you're either going to work on some kind of wave freestyle, or if you prefer gliding, then you can put a glide in there as well. Okay. Sophia, we're ready. All right.
Don't close your eyes. Can't you feel the chaos waking, running out of time? But this world is ours to save, so hold the light.
What does everything who's here on Tuesday about starting here in this car park today? Go to the selfie person. I'm not here. That's just a little warm up to get your stuff. What does everybody think of? See across the way. See the way there's that street lamp there? Okay, did you feel warm up to learn to be choreography now? Okay, so what we're going to do is just go find space. Right head roll. Contraction in that head and your hand sharp, sharp. Relax. 3 and 4. And it feels really awkward, so you have to feel like you're holding over your back and then a high release. Okay? This video can move on to another spot. So, ready to go on? Right. Here's where your pirouette happens. Hold back. And then I want you to take your hand on your heart. Oh, I feel so warm and fuzzy. Okay, ready? Oh my goodness, and then we're going to have to go. Okay.
Sometimes I take a look at the world, such a fast place. Sometimes I get a little scared of the rat race with everything that's going on. I listen to my favorite song, gotta think it clear, face up to the fear, tuning in to think of you, motor fire in a loop. Baby, I'm thinking, only thing that can save me now is love. Yeah, I do get lonely, hell, some of the time. Someone try to tell me if you're lonely it's a crime. And if it is, do you want a part of me? Cause deep down inside you could end up saving me. Yeah. I'm here for a miracle, so come to me. On board for a miracle, so who knows, we might see. Yeah. We're here for a miracle, collectively. On board for a miracle. Now we met at the party of a friend. With you I had a feeling, but I could not comprehend. Like maybe it could have been, and maybe forever. But maybe it's just a maybe, maybe better late than never. I'm here for a miracle, so come to me. On board for the miracle, so who knows, we might see. Yeah. But we're here for a miracle, collectively. On board for the miracle. Sometimes I take a look at the world, such a fast place. Sometimes I get a little scared of the rat race with everything that's going on. We listen to our favorite song, and now I'm thinking clear. Thankful that you're here, tuning in to think of you. Motor fire in a loot, and baby, I'm thinking only thing that can save me now is love. Only thing that can save me now is love. Thing that can save me now. I said it in the 60s and nobody was listening. They said it in the 70s, nobody was listening. 80s and the 90s, nobody was listening. They say it today, but who is really listening when the world, all the world, all the world, all the world really needs now is love.
I would like to also welcome to our on-screen chat, not our on-screen chat, our live chat in the chat box, our lovely Blas Peyri from Spain, and he will be joining us later during the week. Thanks, Blas. Lovely to see you. Lovely to hear from you. We'll be talking a moment. Maurice and Frank, you wanted to raise some interesting comments about what we've been looking at. If you would.
Well, it's really interesting that tonight we've been seeing a lot of new work. So it really reflects the present year that we've all been living in globally. And it's interesting to see that we're watching a lot of dancers working alone in empty spaces because they're working either under lockdown or they're working in spaces that are uniquely available to them, the home space or perhaps a workspace. But in any case, it raises some interesting questions about the use of space, the emptiness of space that we're seeing, and perhaps what might become for many of us a cathartic experience to know that, although we're all isolated this year, we're sort of isolating together, just like we are tonight on screen. We're coming together. And we see that in many of the projects as well, where there's an outreach via Zoom, that even though we are alone on the screen, we are also able to come together through the screen. So that gives us a lot of different themes and aesthetics that we're seeing this year in terms of how we consider ourselves as individuals, how we relate to others, and the way that we're relating this year through screens out of necessity. And that, of course, includes choreography and filmmaking.
And while we are watching these movies from our homes, they give us the possibility to travel with them, thanks to the films that we've already seen tonight. Even though we are based in Burgundy, we've been to Ireland. And this is beautiful, this ability that is given to these works of art to bring us into a different environment with them.
Yes, and I was thinking when all of this started last year and I went back to face my young dance students around September and looked at we were in the studio at that point. We hadn't been banished. That didn't happen until Christmas in Ireland anyway. But yes, I looked at their youthful bodies and their mind and their sort of desire to train, remembering what it was like that for me at that age as well, that there's such a hunger to just develop and train, almost like an athlete. You just want to get going with it. You want to get into your body, move it. And so much of what we know is, of course, dance has to do with space. It has to do with movement through space. And it has to do with training in a group where you're being led by your teacher to improve and being pushed quite hard by your teacher to improve. So this is the norm for a young dancer. And then, of course, we've got the dance artists who are more established and maybe are running their own practice or running their own companies or whatever the case may be. But for me, the question was, how can I make this relevant to them in this time? And it's no doubt utterly frustrating on so many levels, but there's no doubt that something very alive is happening within the sphere of dance and the sphere of screen dance as well. And I would just like to refer to, as I mentioned, we've been joined tonight virtually by Blas Peyri, and Blas, as I mentioned to you, he'll be part of the screen dance training workshops over the next few days, and he will also be participating in the Artist Salon on Friday, and he will be with us all day Saturday as well. And so we will be speaking more to him at that time. But he raised some interesting points related to what we were saying earlier about, I was making the point that if you're recording a dance, literally not as in a creative way, but simply trying to gather, running the camera from beginning to end so that you have the steps and you can teach them to the next group of dancers. And I was making the point that this can be a dampening down of a dynamic. But he made the point in the chat that, but there are ways in which the camera can edit and, as it were, create more dynamic. And you had something to say about that, Marisa, if I remember.
Sure. Well, it does remind me of my very first screen dance course when I was at university. This would have been around the year 2000. So it's almost my 21st anniversary of working in screen dance. In my first course, the very first exercise that the professor had us do was to run in front of the camera. And she asked us to put as much energy as we could to run as fast as we could on a horizontal line in front of the camera. And then we watched the recording afterwards. And we saw that despite the amount of energy that we were expending on a very dynamic and quick run, somehow it felt flat because the camera, our relationship to the camera didn't move, and we hadn't done anything in terms of our positioning to make a dynamic angle with the camera. And then we tried the exercise again. We ran on a diagonal straight towards the camera and passed it out of the image. And suddenly there was a lot of oomph that came to the image. We could feel the energy of the run. So this is one of those things that illustrates the difference between a static camera and one's positioning and how the camera can become a dynamic partner in the dance. And I thought that Blas's comment was interesting because it both reminded me of that, and also that in recent years, thanks to the development of screen dance and the greater visibility that it's had, we're starting to see artist organizations who are consulting with screen dance artists regarding the documentation of their performance work. So I was once approached by such an organization and asked to consult regarding how a dance artist might go about getting a very good, high energy stage recording of their work. Now, it wouldn't be an artistic project like a work of screen dance, but thanks to editing cuts and thanks to good camera work, as Blas mentioned in his comment, this would provide probably a more satisfactory document of the stage piece.
Frank, did you want to add anything or?
I agree with what Marissa said on the subject. It's really possible to play with the technology or with elements linked to the audiovisual tool that you're using when you're recording a work of stage dance. I really insist in the workshops that we teach on basically the fact that we are dealing with paintings in movement, and that this is a rectangular frame, and the same rules that apply to how we read and how we feel when we watch a painting, to a certain extent, also apply to the works of screen dance. So the diagonals, the depth, the positioning on the sides of the image are all elements that are going to add another layer of movement compared to having a character, a dancer that is always centered in the middle of the image. So those are little composition ideas that really enhance the quality, the movement of the dance, and give you back the energy that is being put into the live performance.
Yes, indeed. And we, I suppose, not to stray too far out of being present here tonight, but I recall being at one of your festivals, Marissa and Frank, or perhaps it was actually in Valencia, but we had Simon Fields there, the great Scottish filmmaker, and he had a lot to say about different ways of framing, and in a way how the filmmaker gathers the images. He talked about he really gave a great exposition of that. So it's a bit unfair to refer to it since he's not here and I don't have the full knowledge to my hand, but it's just really to, as you've been saying, Frank, that there's something that essentially learning the skills of the camera work and the editing and what can be done that is quite apart from the moving body. And this is, I just wanted to bring in to that at this point to refer to my main, I suppose, starting point with all of this and with my take on this festival, Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory. I'm a little bit like Maya Darren in that I place film and dance. That's why I have screen and dance linked in a way that they create one word with each capital letter for screen, capital letter for dance. For me, it's so that as being mainly a choreographer, that I can really know that I'm still involved in the art of dance. So that's just my standpoint on that. It's just where I'm coming from. But what I did find myself noticing and really loving about screen dance is that while I love the moving body, I think that there's also something in screen dance, which I am now calling the body of movement. Maybe it's not original, perhaps it's been said by others, but the body of movement can be other things that are moving. It can be, as you mentioned earlier, the camera It can also be movement of parts of nature, trees or animals or birds or the sea or whatever it might be. And so that's something I'm starting to notice about, and it maybe links back into your comment earlier about the spectral body, that there can be a disembodied dancer within that's not present in the body. So that's a bit of a long-winded way of saying that I can really see that the art of screen dance can incorporate movement that's not necessarily physical. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's
all right.
not necessarily visual either. Or often underestimate the importance of sound, but sound is movement too. And it is as important in a work of screen dance as the use of movement in the image or off the image. That's an added layer that is of the utmost importance in the realm of screen dance.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
And that was a great note to point out too, that the workshop being offered this week doesn't just speak about creating choreography for dancers or for the camera work, but that also Blas Pairi will be teaching a sound component to the screen dance workshop. So it's really wonderful that this festival has that element to address the importance of sound and music in screen dance.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Just to say, maybe this is an opportunity. I know you probably all have the program at your hand, but there is plenty going on this week. We have a dance workshop tomorrow morning. We also have later in the week a focus on Martha Graham, which I will talk about more as the week goes on. But tomorrow morning we have a dance workshop, which is a repertory workshop being taught by Jean-Baptiste Ferreira and Rafael Molina, and they will be teaching directly some Martha Graham repertory to the participants who turn up to that event, and it is going to be wonderful. It's directly from the horse's mouth. These two men have both danced with Graham, the second Graham company, and they will be bringing that direct experience. Never has happened in Ireland before, or to my knowledge, it certainly hasn't happened in Ireland, as I say. And then in the afternoon, we will have Blas Pairi coming in as in the screen dance training, as you said, Maurice and Franck, and that is going to be wonderful. He's a most amazing artist and composer and filmmaker and teacher, and he will be bringing that. And then we will be moving on to our Thursday, which will be Maurice and Franck doing screen dance in the morning and Blas doing his session in the afternoon, and then we will have the choreographers on screen in the evening. So I won't go further into the program at this point, but I think I will just check quickly into the chat and see if, oh yes, by the way, thank you, Laura. Laura said she helped to edit the film from the FYI Dance Club work that we've been looking at, Zoe's piece. So thank you for just mentioning that, Laura. There are always other collaborators involved in screen dance, and yes, it's good that you put yourself in there, that we noticed that. And also just to say, so far I haven't directly referred to any of the films. We have one more to go, so I'm just going to introduce that now in a moment. I will just see. Okay. That's all fine there. Yeah, thank you. Some issue about the sound. Okay, good. And then, yes, great, thank you. And then, yes, so the last piece that we're going to look at tonight is a film by Molly McAllister. And Molly McAllister is another of our alumni here from Wicklow Screen Dance Laboratory. She was a dance student in the local Grey Institute of Further Education doing the dance course there. And she came on to the first Wicklow Screen Dance Lab in 2017 with the most absolutely beautiful film. I can still clearly remember the sunset out on the pier. It was lovely. And she has since made 2 new films, and we're going to see one of them will be shown on Saturday. And this film we're going to see now is her latest film, and it's called Cared For and Dreamt With.
My body. Energy in space and time. Defining and yet not at all.
proud and worth remarking of.
I trust in my body's ability to heal.
To relearn, we trust, physically and in thought.
Thoughts of ideals, surrender these.
A dancer's body.
The tool, the spectacle.
Cared for and dreamt with.
Holds symbolic value.
Judgment.
Endures critique, proving strength and passion.
Encouraged and torn down.
Rebuilt.
Rebuilt.
The age-old question.
The body and the self, spanning time, spirituality and science.
One and the same or total disconnect. Each unique. Control and chaos.
Infinite shading of movement. Intended or otherwise. Shadowing.
Transcending words.
Perhaps defining cognitive power to present, express, represent the unspeakable.
Identity woven within each scene.
Lucky am I to feel this truth.
This instrument of ours, the utmost commonality of humanity.
A life of its own.
Its own nuances and powers at play.
Carries, supports, warns. How can we not be the walls in which we exist?
Perceives, listens.
Gives and takes.
Often more than we can comprehend. The body.
The body.
The body, the vessel.
Yet, with thought, when cared for and dreamt with.
A friend.
The kids out. Thank you very much. So we've actually come to the end of our screenings, and I just want to say, first of all, to thank all of the filmmakers who've submitted work. There will be, as I say, plenty more going on through the week. We'll have both live dance, as in live streamed dance. We will have recorded dance performances, and we will also have more films, more screen dance films. Frank, you wanted to raise an interesting point about where we're at with screen dance in the pandemic.
Oh, yes, I mean, since we earlier on discussed the history of screen dance, we discussed its roots with the early films, the beginnings of cinema. It is interesting to see what a success story screen dance is, because it started as a pas de deux between France and the United States, the two countries where basically cinema was invented more than a century ago. But screen dance has spread all over the world, and today it's a very vibrant, very rich form of art that one can find on basically every continent on the planet. In the two Americas, Asia, not as much as we would like coming to Africa, but we hope to see more works coming from Africa. It's a problem of money and accessibility to the new technologies, but I really hope it's going to develop. Every year at our festival, we get hundreds of films from all over the planet. And the films that we've seen tonight from Ireland are a proof of how alive this work of this form of art is today. So that's very positive, and this is really developing in these times of pandemic that are very appropriate for this sort of art form.
Thank you, Frank. Yes. Risa, did you have anything you wanted to add or any comment?
Just to say that I also think, during this time of pandemic, we see, of course, a lot of work on the screen. And I know people are tired of the screen sometimes. We hear about Zoom fatigue, and I think that's natural because we're having to do everything via the screen. But I just wanted to say that on one hand, we see increased opportunities for screen dance. And on the other hand, I just wanted to remind viewers that it has been an art form that has been really growing in development in the past years. Um, and I know that there are some artists who perhaps feel like they don't want to work on the screen, and that's fine. But I think that it's also a time when other artists are even more so than usual discovering the possibilities of the screen and the different tools that it allows us to develop in terms of looking at dance differently, traveling around dance, creating dance with the camera and the editing. So it can be exciting for those who are interested in it.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said. Points very well made. Thank you. Yes, so I would like to now we're going to close up this session for this evening. I'd like to say that please go onto the website screendance.ie. There are tickets available still for all of the events coming up. Friday night is a free event anyway. The Artist Salon is always free. And we would love to have you come along, share the word, spread the word. I guess I would say part of my intention for this festival for this year was and not to sound too, what's the word, pious or something, but to have something that's spreading light and joy. And I was thinking about that, and afterwards, for me, it's the joy is the creative joy. So we're coming together to look at things that are creative, and the light then would be also to enlighten. So we're giving some sort of enlightenment into a subject, into a topic. And I think just as I quite agree, everybody's Zoom gloomed and fed up with Zoom, but hopefully we can come together as a group this week to really just bring a little bit more, something extra, something that's just, presumably we're all here because the arts mean so much to us. Certainly the arts mean everything to me. And I know I'm not alone here. Probably everybody around this Zoom table would agree. But just to say that this is important for us, and this is why we're here. We're here because it matters to us. And personally, I believe it matters to the world that we have a very vibrant art sort of, what is the word, milieu, or yeah, we need that so badly. And yes, so that's really all I wanted to say. The chat box has been really flowing. There's been so much, so lovely to see. Thank you all for really cheering each other on as well. As I mentioned, tonight's group of filmmakers, or many of them, not all, but many, are fairly new in the area of making film. And so therefore, this for me is a sort of a gentle opening. It's a gentle space for them to show their work and to know that it's seen and appreciated. And we appreciate all the work that goes into it as well. And just that it's part of, I really believe, and one thing I try to inculcate in this festival is that they're the new green shoots coming up, and then they're the more established, the trees, or oh gosh, I'm turning into a very bad poet at the moment, but they're more established art, which we will also be looking at later in the week. But there's a space for the new shoots, and they have to be welcomed in. We need the new generation. Yeah, it's great. So good to see you all. So is there anything now to be quickly looked at? Yes, just people really commenting on each other's work, which is fantastic. Yes, thank you very, very much, everybody. And so I'm going to say we'll say goodbye for now. Goodbye for tonight. Thank you so much. And we will see you on Thursday night on our platform here, but we will also be in full operation all week, working hard in our virtual studios, creating, learning and sharing. Ihawa. See you all. Take care. Bonne nuit.
Thank you.